You're listening to Lords of Thunder Podcast with your host, Alpha Omega Sin and Happy Console Gamer.
So, welcome back to episode 1000 of the Lords of Thunder Podcast. And I'm lying. I don't know what episode it is.
It's episode 1001. Get your shit together.
Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. Like usual. Mr. Alpha Omega Sin correcting me because I am a moron. I am Johnny Millennium and
Johnny Half-Brain Millennium. You don't even know numbers, bro.
Oh, we're gonna start off with a fucking argument. We're gonna lose our shit here. It's gonna be like Slam Masters.
You know what? That's it. Cockfighting. Let's do it. Tip on tip.
It's come down to this.
It's come down to this.
No pun. So we always start off with these sexual things going on. I don't know the fuck the deal with that.
Here's the thing. We are sexual beasts, and eventually this stuff just it has to come out sooner or later, or we pop.
I'm a sexual Tyrannosaurus, I tell you.
The small little arms, just like, come here, bitch. I can't grab your hair just right.
The Lords of Thunder Podcast will be right back after these technical difficulties. Please stay tuned.
Hello?
Dude, wow, that was fucking nuts.
I hope you're still recording.
Oh, no. I had to stop the recording because, dude, it started, I'll play it back for you, like, after we're done recording, but it was like...
Went all robotic?
Dude, it was fucking nuts. Like, we're actually recording right now, so I should probably have it included with it, but
yeah.
It was like part of your sentence. It was like Wadus, and it just kept going over and over. It sounded fucking ballistic, dude. Like, it was like poltergeist shit, man.
It's I do have something to admit here. I'm actually a robot from the future, and And yeah, it's out of the bag now. I glitched, and I think the world knows that all my video game knowledge is just recorded. It's not real.
It's all flash memory.
It's flash memory from another robot.
Dude, you had to be like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz, like, oil can.
You know, back when I used to do the All Gen Gamers podcast, we would have weird glitches like that. So it's nothing out of the norm. All of a sudden, when it went silent, I was like, oh, it's happened.
Dude, it on my end, it was just, it was absolute fucking insanity. I was like, oh my god, his robot side came out, his fucking circuit board's frying. I can't believe this. No, Johnny 5 alive.
It's a Lords of Thunder podcast Genesis edition.
It was good stuff though. I like that. So yes, besides all glitching, please continue, sir. Assuming that you've got your hard drive intact.
I'm a cybernetic organism. I've come back in time to bring the title of the podcast back. It's going to be How to Start a YouTube Show. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Oh, he makes YouTube videos. Bad impersonation. I love it. I'm not even doing a good impersonation. I can admit it. Sometimes I can do a good Schwarzenegger. Today's not one of them.
No, that's because you defragged, so it just fucked up everything.
I'm restarted.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm glad you rebooted. Your operating system's back intact.
Yeah, we're rebooting the entire podcast. This is episode 1 all over again. Fuck all those 1001 episodes. Shit. So we actually thought that we'd do an episode on just on YouTube, on our experiences on YouTube and how we got started, and so maybe some tips and tricks and
good magazine, by the way.
What's that?
A good magazine, by the way. Tips and tricks.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like a lot of different things that maybe you guys can get out of it for creating YouTube shows, because I know a lot of people who listen to the podcast also have their own YouTube shows, and hopefully maybe you can get something out of this, maybe.
And it's, dude, that's something that gets asked all the fucking time, and whenever you're interested in doing it, but there isn't no how-to guide. There isn't something where you just do a simple Google search, and it's like, here's Yahoo Answers, and with, seasoned veterans and professionals who are able to go and help you with all of your YouTube channel creating needs.
Yeah. I always found that when I first came onto YouTube, and I would write to big channels, I'd have some questions, and I don't think I was an annoying guy. I think I maybe sent off maybe 2 or 3 questions to 2 or 3 YouTubers that I really liked, and I never heard fuck all back from them. And I was always upset about that. And if anybody sends me a message, I always try to get back to them. And usually I do, because there's a lot of questions I had in the beginning of YouTube that I had to like figure out on my own, and it's just really kind of confusing. What editing software to use and all that stuff. But I don't know if we'll get that technical today. But if anybody has any questions, we can always answer
Well,
those.
I think that actually would be good to bring up is
Yeah,
also
right.
the technical aspects of it, because I mean that's probably one of the most common things to get asked beyond, just the tried and true, I want to get famous, tell me what to do, which is always the stupidest fucking question.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, dude, if you're doing it just to get famous, don't fucking bother. Like, do it because you give a shit about the stuff you're talking about.
That's that, and you just said it. That is the most important fucking shit. We were just talking before we even started doing the podcast. Is that I was like, like I put some episodes out for my personal show, and they don't, like for views or for anything like that. They sometimes they don't do that incredibly well, but I put them out because I really wanted to do them, and they really meant something to me. And you always have, and I'm 7 years into doing YouTube. I when I started YouTube, I did a bunch of top 10 lists. This is back in 2008, and those top 10 lists went huge. They had hundreds of thousands of views and all that stuff. So I knew that if I wanted to be big on YouTube, I could just do top 10 lists and I'd be massive. But that wasn't the kind of channel I wanted to do. And I think maybe that's where we can start, and I'll put it onto you. When you started on YouTube, what was your influences, and what did you want to do with your channel? Did you know? Take
Um,
it away.
oh man,
Yeah.
one, I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
From the start. I think anybody, even like no matter how tough you are, how good you are at being able to be in front of an audience and shit, when you go onto the internet for the first time and you're putting yourself on public display, it's almost horrifying, because you don't know how people are reacting until you see comments. And even then, you're still not entirely sure. You have a like and a dislike bar, which back then we had the star system, if you remember. The 5-star
I
system.
remember the star system. I forgot about that.
That's some old school shit right there. But whenever I had started, it was basically just to talk about shit and get it off my chest. And I because I've been following stuff through video game magazines early on whenever I was very young, and then whenever the internet started to boom in the 90s, I started getting my news from there. I was always that go-to guy about, hey, what's going on? Oh, hey, tell me about this, and all the technical aspects of the industry and what the companies are doing, what games are coming out. Can you tell me anything about them and all that shit? And I wanted to talk about some of that stuff because I knew, well before all the Gamergate shit, I knew about corruption in just journalism. And it happens all the time, and it always just bothered the shit out of me. There just wasn't any honest people. It was bought and paid for opinions, and I don't know, it kind of sucks, because then you think, am I getting a sincere opinion, or is it because they were given a fat check and given stuff for free and they had to go and sign on the dotted line to say this and not say that? So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's something that I only discovered later on in YouTube, that things like that were going on. I had no idea. I had like it's funny, when I started I was just doing videos. I didn't even know you could monetize videos. I did 100 videos before I knew you could even monetize. I thought you made money, like if you wanted to make money, you do that on maybe some t-shirt sales, or maybe you release a DVD of collected stuff. I had no idea what was really going on.
Well, the cool thing about your channel was, like, whenever I came across you, was you were talking about all these series and shit and games that I knew about that nobody else was fucking talking about.
Yeah.
And I dig that kind of stuff. Like the vast majority of the channels that I tune into every single week are channels that talk about all the niche genres and all the franchises that aren't getting a lot of limelight. And I like the undiscovered. That's
Yeah.
the stuff that I dig, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I gravitated towards your channel.
But I gotta say, what was your motivation? Like you're saying that,
Oh,
what was like you're sitting on the couch and you're like, okay, all these things piss me off, but that wasn't the start of the channel. What was like, what did you want to do on YouTube?
uh,
Like,
I
what
mean,
was your
fuck.
like? Yeah.
The very first video that I ever showed up in was talking about my pet peeve with stickers all over GameStop games.
Yeah, I've seen that episode.
I mean, that's the very first one, and it was just something I talked about with my friends. Like I've said it in panels a couple times too. Was all the stuff that I talk about in videos essentially what I would talk about with my best friends. You
Yeah.
know, I just sit there and shoot the breeze with them. But now I wouldn't have to be relegated just talking to only a couple people about it. I had a soapbox to go and do this on. And, websites were doing this kind of stuff all the time. I thought, why couldn't I? I went on to forums all the time, groups, random ass threads, and would post shit. But then just wanted to kind of take the reins and do my own thing with my own voice rather than just typing out, fucking 15 paragraphs and then calling it a day.
How did you get past the fear of talking in front of a camera? Like how you're like, oh my god, there's a camera there. Because now we do it and we enjoy talking to the cameras. But when we first started, was your initial reaction, boy, I love speaking in front of the camera? You said you were a little scared. You
Dude,
know?
well,
Yeah.
there was like the thing that I think that bothered me the most was I didn't like how I looked or sounded on camera.
Yeah.
Like, it would bother the shit out of me. I can look in a mirror and be just fine, and I have all this self confidence. But whenever it came to it being done in video form, for some reason it would bug me. And then the whole fear of the unknown of you don't know how people are reacting, and you know that you're going to get eaten alive because it's the
Oh yeah.
internet. It's going to happen whether you have the best channel or the worst. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. But you kind of deal with it. The earliest fucking crap of people slinging mud your way. You kind of have to take it. Don't I just told myself if I let these couple assholes defeat me, I'm never going to be able to let this get anywhere, and I'm enjoying it, so I shouldn't let a couple little fuckers go and destroy that for me. So yeah, and talking to an inanimate object is awkward. Like
Oh yeah.
and you do that, you're in a room by yourself too, and it is like when we first started, it is kind of weird when you're not used to doing that.
It was the best way I can describe it. It was horrifying. I like so for me it's that I saw the AV Gen doing what he was doing. I loved what he was doing, but he was doing comedy based skits, and I was just like, well, he just was a motivator for me that man, I just want to talk about video games too, but I want to talk about the video games that I like and stuff that nobody else is talking about. And I don't know why it's so funny that I felt this great obligation to talk about certain video games that had never been talked about online. If you can believe there was no dedicated Neo Geo episodes, there was no Fantasy Star episodes, no Ease episodes, no Strider episodes, nothing. Can you believe it was almost like the old West? It was a brand new frontier, and I was like, well, cowboy, I gotta go out and do this if I
Well,
want to or not.
dude, if you remember back then, when YouTube came up, I mean, there was actually a lot of different video sharing websites that were platforms.
Yeah.
And YouTube was just one of many. YouTube was the bigger of the bunch, but it wasn't, a lot of people didn't have high speed internet. That was
Hmm.
one of the things. So the whole video sharing concept was still new. I mean, fuck, there were still people who were relegated to using fucking Real Player.
Oh
back
God.
dude, Real Player is still around, by the way, which fucking
Uh,
kills me.
Stupid.
but like when you think about it, YouTube is 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
10 years old. And I mean, back then it's just crazy to think about it in its infancy. Before Google bought it, it was just YouTube. You know, it had a layout that looked like fucking MySpace.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was very like user centric. Like each channel and page was very dedicated to all those people, you know, how they wanted to go and edit things and what they want to put in. But man, it was so different. But yeah, back then there was no high definition cameras really for us to use, and it was so fucking weird.
It really was. It was a brand new medium. It was all this brand new stuff, and I was like, okay. And I had a camera, a high definition camera, but I'd been learning how to edit on Final Cut, and I just bought a Mac, and I was like, now's the time to combine all these forces. The only force that I was not sure about and didn't like was me. You know, like I had the technology, I had the camera, but I was like, oh my god, I have to get in front of a camera and talk. And I was a smoker at the time. Anybody who knows me, will know this back then, that I was all those things. And I hated public speaking. I would get in front of a classroom and my hands would be shaking, holding a piece of paper. I detested it. And I was like, wait a second, I'm going to get in front of a camera and tell people about video games? I want to do it, but I don't know if I'm good enough to do it. And I just forced myself. Isn't that so funny?
Well, and
other people,
what's
yeah.
interesting is you're like me in this sense, where you're a very charismatic, talkative, chatty person and good in social situations, but when
Yeah.
it came to this, that's where shit got flipped and twisted.
Well, as you said it the best, is that talking to an inanimate object. But for me, when I was first looking into that camera, and I'll never forget sitting in my games room that wasn't quite the games room. I had this horrible couch behind me. I had this bandana. I was 140 pounds from being a smoker. I had a really deep kind of voice like this, and I was looking up at the camera, and I could feel thousands of people looking at me and judging me. All I felt was judging, and I felt so insecure. I'll never forget how horrifying it was for me. I mean, and I just gritted it, you know, and I said, okay, just go for it, and I'd edit it together, and I was like, well, the video is good except for me, you know, like,
Well,
I'd put it out.
do you actually like you had said that you actually had the high definition camera back then, which
Yeah.
was a fucking rarity for many of us.
Yeah.
And you also were editing back then. Did you know how to edit and how to do any kind of video production back then?
I did know how to edit, but I had never edited. You know, okay. Here's the great thing, and this is advice for anybody out there. Hey, you're like, hey, my name is Joe Smith, and I want to make a YouTube show. And the problem I had was, what show am I going to make in what kind of format? Because I know it may sound funny, but there wasn't any format.
No,
So
not at all.
I had edited like little movies and skits and things, and I'd had a great time. But to do an ongoing show, I'm like, do I need to have an intro every time? So I thought, oh, I have to make an intro. And I'm like, do I have background music? Do I have catchphrases? Do I have? And I shouldn't even say I had catchphrases. I didn't know anything, and I was like, I'll just film. And this is my advice: is just go and film, and it'll shape itself. You will become whatever you become in your videos. It sounds so stupid that I'm so known for little sayings that I say, like, welcome back to another episode, and until next time. That's so funny. My show never started with that. I don't know how I even picked them up. I don't know how they stuck, but they did. And that became part of the show, good, bad, or ugly. You either like it or you don't. It doesn't matter. It became part of the show by organically doing it. But getting back to what we're talking about is that there was no format. I actually think I was the first person to ever have their video game collection behind them in a video. I really believe that. I remember the AVGN had a couple of Nintendo games here and there behind them, but nothing like having like a collection of stuff that you loved. You know what I mean? Like, he had a collection of Nintendo games he hated, which was great. but it was different. And I remember when I was assembling my shelves, I'm like, oh my god, people are gonna rip me a new asshole, thinking that I'm the biggest fucking loser on the internet. Like, oh, look at this guy with all these video games behind him, because it was so different and weird to do that. But that was part of it. I'm like, I'll put the shelf behind me and I'll talk about stuff I like, and I'll figure out the show as I go along. Like, so that's my story. What was your story? Like, you start, you do that first episode talking about labels, and it pisses
dude,
all off.
dude, I had no idea what the fuck to do. I like before I even made the video, I was uploading video game soundtracks.
Yeah, I did that too. But
Like because and we're talking about things that can be perceived as being like really fucking nerdy, and it's hard to tell people that, man, I love just jamming to fucking deep bass video game music that's just fucking bumping the shit out of my car.
Yeah.
People be like, "Are you fucking high?" Like no, but everybody else in the car is. No, like I was doing that. I had a top 15 PlayStation list video, which is actually still on there. And that list isn't even reflective of how I feel right now because it's so fucking old.
it gets so dated, right? Yeah.
Then there was just like random ass stuff that I had on there, and it wasn't until I decided, well, I'm gonna be on camera now, and a format. When you brought that up, dude, that is one of the hardest things to figure out, because like you said, back then there was nothing to really look at and be like, I'm gonna be inspired by this and try to build around maybe this idea or that. There was fucking nothing.
I know.
Nothing. I mean, fucking tumbleweeds and cobwebs in the fucking pussy from some bitchin' old folks home, empty. Like, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And so you had to just come up with an idea of what you wanted to do and where you want to go. Nowadays, there's bajillions of videos and different ideas, and there's also the ignorant and stupid people who will be like, oh, everything's already been done.
Yeah.
And
No.
I can't even tell you how fucking wrong that you are if you're thinking that. But like when I did it, it was pretty much exactly what it is. It's all me. Get the fuck in front of the camera and just no script, no bullet points, no nothing. I had no fucking plan other than just the topic, and I go with it. And now 6 years later, it's pretty much still the same exact thing. Like,
yeah.
But it works.
When did you see that your channel was growing? When did you go, oh shit? You know what I mean? Did you ever have that moment?
It's weird because it's changed from time to time, because it's hard to evaluate, like, well, what is considered growing, because you always look at, okay, what's the measuring stick? Well, measuring stick right now would be like PewDiePie, who has like 30 million plus subscribers and shit. So I always consider my channel to be a drop in a bucket. But in terms of when I was like, hey, this is kind of just growing and getting big, like I think it started blowing up once it got past the 10,000 mark.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was such a slow climb to get there, and it was one of those things of, I've just always told myself over the years, don't look at the numbers, don't care about your views on the videos, don't care about your subscriber count, don't care about that shit. Just keep making the videos and just just care about that. Care about what the fuck you're making. Because I didn't want to ever focus on that shit, and I still don't, because the minute that I start caring about that shit, I'm not going to be focused on, like, the important shit, and that's the entire point of the video, But yeah, I'd say, like, around the 10-20,000 mark, that's when it just started, blowing up, and it's been going ever since, so I guess I'm proud. Yay!
Yeah, definitely.
Well, what about for you? When how do you think that you hit that stride?
I know. Do you know what's here? I don't think I've ever talked about this, but the funny thing about my channel is I call it slow and steady. It's never blown up too big. It's never been too small. It's always just gradually kind of gone up. But that's over 7 years. So to a lot of people, they'd be like, "Oh, that's a failure. You didn't get you should have been a lot bigger by now. A lot of people, it's actually not what I think. It's more what other people think, you know? Oh, I thought you would be a lot bigger by now. Hey, great example. Great example. This is one of the best examples out there, and this is some advice to give to people out there. I remember when I was going, I don't even remember how many subscribers I had. Maybe I had 10,000 or something. And Pete Dorr came on, and he sent me a message. He hadn't started a channel yet, and he goes, I'm thinking about starting a channel. And I'm like, oh, cool, man. And we chatted back and forth, and I could tell he was really enthusiastic and really knew his shit about video games. So I was quite excited to see it. And so I think he did a few like webcam kinds of episodes. You know, that's kind of what you did back then with technology being a little bit more limited back in 2008. And then all of a sudden, he did some things that nobody had ever done before, like showing his entire PS2 collection, his entire 360 collection, which people believe now be like, yeah, that's nothing. But you don't understand. He set a precedent that had never been done before. Nobody can understand that. And his channel just exploded and started growing like crazy. And before we knew it, he was at like maybe 15 to 20,000, and I was at like 11,000. I wasn't even paying attention. And do you know what? I liked Pete, and I was really happy for his success because it was really genuine, and it was like, oh, this is great. So that's how I felt. People start to write to me. This is what it's all about out there. It's crazy with people. Oh, you must be so upset that Pete Dorr has passed you in subscribers and his channel is better than yours. And I was like, no, what? Like, I was so confused by the mentality. I was like, why does everybody have to turn it into a race? Why can't his success be my success?
Yeah.
You know, why does my channel have to be lower because his is higher? It doesn't. You don't, and this is advice for anyone. You know, if your friends got more subscribers than you or less than you, there'll always be people bigger than you. There'll always be people less than you. Who gives a shit? Exactly what you said. Concentrate on what you're doing. And so, you know, I never concentrated on the numbers. I never did. But I can honestly say, and I'll put this out there, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, I'll be honest, there was a relief. I felt like, you know, I'd always felt successful with my channel with the kinds of episodes I was personally doing. But I always felt that to a lot of other bigger channels that my channel was whatever it was. Where when it hit 100,000, it was like, well, there you go. There's a good number for you. Maybe that'll you know, make you realize that I have a decent channel. You know, because I always felt a bit of an underdog out there. I always felt like that. So for me, it was more like when I hit 100,000, it shut a bunch of people up. Yeah. You know, like, oh yeah, Happy Cons Gamer with his small channel. Yeah, huh.
Oh,
you
fuck
know,
those people.
Fuck yeah, but people. There's a lot. Like, let's be honest. There's a lot. And I'm not gonna get into it, obviously, but there's a lot of really nasty people out there. We're talking smaller channels, bigger channels, whatever channels. There's a lot of real shit people out there, and that do judge and do, you know, all that. Yeah, it's just kind of funny. So, yeah, I never saw. I'm always slow and steady. I'll get moments where I'll hit 1,000 subscribers in a day. The next day I get 30 subscribers. Then it goes up. Then it goes down. It's all over the place. I mean, my channel is so strange in so many degrees. I can't even quantify it. You know what I mean? My channel is so many things.
Like, I always found it odd that anyone just gave a shit about those kind of numbers. Like, when somebody's trying to throw it in your face, you don't have millions of subscribers. Like, well, yeah, I know that. That means you suck. I'm like, well, how many do you have?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have millions? And even if you did have millions, does that suddenly just mean you're better? Because there's somebody that has millions more than you, and then there's somebody who has millions more than them. They're just fucking numbers. Yeah. I hate that people try to use that as some kind of dick measuring contest to try to feel better about themselves. I'm like, dude, just fucking do this shit. Do this because you want to do this shit, not because you have some kind of shattered ego that you're trying to glue back together with fucking stats and statistics, because it just makes you look fucking pathetic. Your dick is still 3 inches at the end of the day. Didn't get any bigger. You still suck.
Yeah, and you just said it perfectly. Like, if you were going onto YouTube to be the next Let's Play guy, the next Let's Play girl, or whatever the fuck you want to be, like, don't do it. Don't like do it. And do you know what? I've said this for so many years, and people are like, oh no, he's saying this one again. But if you have passion, then do it. If you don't have passion, don't fucking do it.
If you
Like,
don't have
seriously.
passion, like on the front of those romance novels that are only like $1, then just don't do it.
Yeah. Like anybody, like if you want to, like the one thing that I can classify my channel as a success by, and it's not subscribers, it's my own personal commitment to it. You know, like every week, every Sunday, I put an episode up, and I put episodes up during the week now, because I want to, because I have a thirst for making videos, and you have to want to make videos more than anything. You have to get such utter pleasure out of it. I swear to God, not gonna sound funny, but it has to be a form of, like, you know, food is good, sex is good, video game, you know, like video making is good. It has to be in the same kind of category as that.
If it's
know?
not up to the level of Yu Suzuki used underwear, then it's not worth it.
I would love to sniff his underwear.
I
Absolutely.
I need to before I die. If not, then clearly I just lived a very shallow life.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate way to die? I'm on my deathbed and you know, like I'm like, I've only got 10 seconds to live, and all of a sudden Yu Suzuki's stained underwear gets thrown in my face, and I inhale, and I'm like,
and then do you just flatline? His
I'm
final
like,
breath was that.
I'm like,
Limited
Shenmue.
edition Shenmue Yu Suzuki signature boxers. Oh yeah. The worst running gag that we'll have with the Lords of Thunder podcast that will never die.
I'll pass out to that super special edition. I'm like, Shenmue special edition underwear.
Beep. Dude, there's so many fucking things with you. Like, okay, here's an example of shit, just so that people know to not worry about the numbers. I know people personally that worry and freak out about subscribers and numbers of views for their shit, and then all of a sudden it starts to affect the way that they create content.
Yeah.
And it actually kills their enthusiasm and becomes like the ultimate buzzkill for anybody who's creative. Like, don't let it get to you. Just make the stuff. Like, look at it like this. If you become successful while being happy, fuck yeah, that's amazing. But I don't know. I tried to not give a shit about it and just hope that anybody's even watching it. I'm like, I got 10 views. Well, that's 10 more than I had yesterday. Hooray, right?
I'm always happy about that people are watching. And you know what? I'll go through weeks. I'm like, man, I put a lot of work into the show, and I thought, you know, I thought it would be viewed better. But then all of a sudden, the next week, it does really well, and then the week after that, it's okay, and then the week after that, it's really good. You go up and down. Like, you can't quantify again YouTube. You just can't.
No.
It's impossible. If you could, people would be millionaires left, right, and center because they could quantify it. You can't quantify the numbers on videos.
I've always gotten bothered, and I know that I shouldn't, but I do. I get bothered by the fact that people will just make content that is plagiarized content of others who are successful because they also want that. They don't do anything that's innovative or creative or unique. They just saw somebody else and did the same exact thing verbatim and then put it out there like, oh man, I saw those Minecraft Let's Plays are super fucking good, so I did the same exact thing. I make my thumbnails exactly like that person's. I act and talk and make the same exact jokes that they do. And they put that out there, and they'll release it same exact schedule. Like, everything is identical, and that drives me up a fucking wall because all you have is the same insufferable shit over and over and over and over again. And this isn't me taking a piss on fucking Minecraft Let's Plays. This is me just being bothered by people not wanting to do something different or do it because they actually have a love for it. They're only doing it because it was successful and done by somebody else who was successful, so they just want a piece of their pie and live in their shadow. Fuck
You know,
all that.
I'll tell you a story of which is really a funny story, and I will not say who it is at all. But I remember in the All Gen Gamers, we had a forum. The forum is gone now. All those times are kind of over. But I remember a certain individual came in and said, hey guys, I really like what you guys are doing. Hey, how do you get a lot of subscribers? I'm dying. I need a lot of subscribers. I want to get big on YouTube, blah, 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 and all that." And we're like, we were stunned because there's no answer to that.
No.
And but what's so funny, that person went off and they became nearly a million subscriber channel. So there's something to be said that it's okay to be hungry for it, but you got to do the work for it as well. You know what I mean? But be original. And you know what? To be honest with you, that person went and was incredibly original.
I mean, the thing is, it's good to be hungry.
Yeah.
It's always going to be good to be hungry because that keeps you like persistent after achieving a goal. But definitely have, like you said, have a fucking passion for it, have a love for it, because without that, it's fuck, man. You could just you don't really care about it. So to me,
Yeah.
there's no point in it. You know,
Yeah, I
it's gonna
agree.
be different strokes for different folks, and definitely a lot of masturbation jokes to be had. But for every person that does it, they're going to be doing it for a different reason.
Yeah.
And, you know, the reasons that we're talking about it are going to differ from individual to individual, but it's always good to just kind of tell people this kind of stuff and remind them, you know, be humble about this shit, give a shit about the content and what you're talking about. But I don't know, it's scary. It is like doing
Yeah.
this shit. It's scary. It's crazy. Uh, and I'll be honest. There's a lot more work involved in this shit than most people think. And
Oh God, yeah.
I've defended so many channels, you know, people that I know and people I don't know, more times I can count, because there's people saying, "Oh, you're just doing this. Oh, it's so fucking easy," and people just kind of shitting all over how much effort and time and work that they've put into this. And I'm like, you're so fucking wrong, because I've seen with my own eyes the amount of hours that go into this stuff, the amount of creativity that has to be just spun inside somebody's head to come up with these ideas, to go about things the way that they do, the amount of money that they have to spend on camera equipment, editing equipment, software, hardware, you know, and shit tons of other things, whether you're getting props and costumes, getting actors, paying for travel, you know, they're paying for licenses, paying to be able to set up to record somewhere. There's so much shit that's involved with it. And a lot of people don't care about that. They want to flap their fucking dick sucker and talk shit. And you've got to just take a step back, breathe, and don't let that shit get to you, because for every one really loud asshole, you have thousands upon thousands of people that are just giving you a thumbs up and saying, you know, this is the shit, good job.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now,
And
you know, something I want to ask you about. What here, people are going to ask, I already fucking know it. I can feel it in my bones. What kind of equipment do you have? And if you were to tell somebody who's just starting out, what would you recommend on a budget?
oh geez. It's so funny. When I started the show, I had an iMac, a 27-inch iMac. I had, oh God, what was the old camera I had? It was this fucking, oh God. It was a tape camera. Can you believe that I used a tape camera for nearly 5.5 years of the show?
Dude, the tape cameras, though, back in the day, had some of the best video quality, because before
Yeah,
everything went all digital, they were some of the only ways that you could get true
well,
high definition out of you know, camera recording equipment.
it's true. And so the only problem is because it had so many moving parts in it, because it was a tape, it broke down all the time. And it did. And it would cost me so much money to fix this camera. It was just a nightmare. And I got to thank Joe of GameSack for finally recommending the camera that I use today. And it's an expensive camera. I saved up for years for the new camera. And it's an XF100, a Canon. And it's about $3,000. And it's wonderful because There's no moving parts. It doesn't break down. Knock on wood. It doesn't break down. It doesn't break down, and it's all digital. And so I can just take the cards out, put them in the computer, export it, bring it into Final Cut. So that's what I use just for filming. I'm just talking about the show, and then my iMac died years ago, so I replaced it. I bought a used Mac Pro tower, and I kind of custom built it all inside. And I can't believe it. I built the whole freaking thing myself. So I put it all together. Put new hard drives in it. I got, I think, about like 12 terabytes in it. What else? I use Final Cut 7. I know Joe from GameSack would love to punch me in the guts because he uses the new Final Cut 10, but I'm so used to 7, I don't need anything else.
I was gonna say, I mean, with software, you know, what you get used to can, so long as it's doing the job. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to upgrade to the newest shit unless it's got something that you've been dying to use feature wise.
I feel good. I'm really happy with all the stuff that I got. And then the microphone, I bought the microphone years ago. I think it's a $600 microphone. You know, so people.
So what kind of microphone is it?
Oh, it's a Sennheiser ME66. I think it's
and
called.
that sounds like some kind of a fucking import car.
I found it on eBay. I asked some people, is this good? Is this good? Yeah, it's good. Okay, I'll get it. Because one thing I learned too late is that good audio, you can't beat good audio. You can have cruddy visuals and good audio. You can get away with that, but the other way around, if you have bad audio, it just kills your production. But I didn't even know that for the longest time. Years. I was, as I say, my show was very slow growing. I was also very slow learning. Hello, you know, it took me a long time to get with the program, but I have the ideal setup now, and then my lights in the other room, I use two big lights. They're Kim's lighting equipment that she uses for photography. I use for the show. That's part of the reason why I married her, so I could keep the lights.
Yeah, she's a package deal. She's part photographer, but like, man, that camera equipment, fuck yeah.
It's like, well, you know, like I guess I have to marry her, but I get the lighting equipment, sure. No, it was just it was one of those things that she helped me set up the lighting a long time ago, and you know what? I've been doing the show for 7 years, and it's only taken me in the last month have I done proper lighting, I think. But that's just me. So so that's the expensive version. That's the only version I know because I built up slowly over time. So the guy who does the editing on the podcast, Sander Scullion, he shot an episode of his show on an iPhone, and I was like, he's like, what do you think of my video? I said, it looks really good. He says, yeah, I shot it on an iPhone. I'm like, wow. And it kind of goes to show you how far technology's gone. So he did the audio separately and then combined it with the iPhone picture, and it was fantastic. I do my show on an iPhone now because technology's come so far where back in 2008, 2009, 2010, yeah, things weren't as happening as they are now. Like,
if somebody was trying to like bust out, God, let's see, a T-Mobile Sidekick,
yeah.
we need to get hardcore throwbacks. So a T-Mobile Sidekick, if they were trying to go and record their YouTube show with that, no, it would it would fucking tank hard as hell, like right into the shitter, just
oh my god,
balls deep in there. No coming back.
So that's what do you use? How did you get to your setup and all that?
Oh man, and see, I love this because this is going to be such a dynamic shift. Mine is the most ghetto bullshit in the entire world by comparison. Let's see. So originally I was using this JVC camcorder I got for like $100.
Yeah.
And it had like a little built-in hard drive to it, so I didn't have to get memory cards or anything. I had like a 30 gigabyte hard drive.
Oh,
so
wow.
I started with that, and it had okay video quality for what it was. I mean, it was $100, and I bought it used on top of that. And the editing software that I was using was Windows Movie Maker.
Oh wow.
And my lighting was, I had no lighting. So that's exactly what I started off with. Then I upgraded and I got a pirated copy of Adobe Premiere, and it was Adobe Premiere Pro CS4. So I torrented that and I got that. And I upgraded from the JVC camera to a Logitech HD webcam.
Yeah.
And the audio took a hit on it, and I didn't have an external microphone to record everything separately. And the mic on it was just kind of ho-hum. But so I had that. And I was editing on a little fucking Acer mini tower because my custom built PC kind of shit the bricks after I moved. So I was editing on that, and this thing was not up to task with editing heavy shit, but I used that for several years.
Yeah.
Switched over, and again, for lighting, I had nothing. It was whatever lights were in the ceiling.
Yeah, whatever light was on.
Yeah, literally, that's all that I did. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to put some money into this, and I got a Canon video camera. It was a Vixia HD camera. It was really nice. It was refurbished, and I got straight from Canon, and it was like a $700 camera, and I only had to pay like $200 for it. So, you know, it was like double the price of the shitty camera that I had prior to that. And it was cool because this one could go on the go. I never ended up buying a microphone for it. I should have. But I thought the audio sounded okay for what it was. I wasn't getting complaints, so I figured until I was getting complaints.
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
But and I was still using Adobe Premiere, and again, the only lighting that I had with it was I bought a 3-way lamp, and I just set that up. So I had light from the top and then light from the front, and that was about all. And then the final shit that I have right now is I've got a cheap Sony camera. It's just one of their handy cams, but I've got that because that Canon got fucked up quite a while ago. And the lighting, I don't actually have room for lighting. That's the only reason why I haven't upgraded. I've wanted to, but if you see my game room, there's no room in here at all. I'd literally have like the lights in the way of where I'm recording. So I haven't bothered with that, but so far everything's worked out really well. And the editing software again is pirated because I'm a thief. But I got Adobe Premiere Pro CC. Now there is something to note about this. You can get Premiere Pro in an entire editing suite for like $50 a month, and it'll give you like After Effects.
Yeah, I tried that out when I was away because I needed Photoshop really quick. So yeah, it was really handy.
Dude, it's pretty damn good. You get everything, like every single thing that they offer. You know, you get Dreamweaver and all the other shit and Photoshop and Premiere. So it's nice in that regard if you're on a budget, because it used to be you had to buy the actual editing software by itself. It was over $1,000. That's why I was pirating it all the time.
Well, who honestly can afford that? That's ridiculous.
Exactly. That's why I never bothered to buy it. And I am looking to go and upgrade right now. I don't know what camera I want to go with. I do know that I want to get one of those Rode microphones, the external microphones.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I've been debating on getting like a super nice video camera, and then there's been some GoPros I've been thinking about. There's just a lot that I'm dabbling with, but I'm still going at it with a budget conscious mentality because I don't want to spend a whole lot, because the truth is I don't have a lot of cash to throw around. So that's essentially me, but it's all been pretty ghetto. I mean, fuck. A lot of people don't even know, but I recorded a couple of videos using my phone.
Yeah.
And I was actually using the audio directly from that. It was I got a Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Amazing video quality. Fucking phenomenal. The microphone in it is balls though. Like it fucking sucks. Like big fat sack. Game sack. It's just not all that good. But if you can, like Xander had done, if you can record the audio separately from it, you can get away with doing that, and you know, just roll with that until you get like proper equipment, unless that's all that you feel that you need.
Yeah.
And then for capture software that I've ever needed, I've got the very first Elgato Game Capture HD.
Yeah. Game. We haven't even talked about that, catching footage, and yeah.
I mean, that kind of stuff, it helps big time, like in a big way. Anytime, because there's people who will say, well, I'll just go and steal video game footage,
No.
but I'd rather just have my own.
Oh God.
It,
Yeah.
it's a lot better to have your own because you're not having to go and pilfer somebody else's stuff. Now,
Hey,
granted, if you ask for it, that's not.
even I can admit, in my very very early days of the show, I remember I did an episode and I needed some Link to the Past footage, and I didn't have some, so I just went onto YouTube and I found some Link to the Past footage, and I ripped it off YouTube. I honestly, I know it sounds bad, but it was like the early days of my YouTube career. I didn't think I was doing anything bad. I'm like, but while I'm talking about it, you just see a little bit of Link to the Past, like probably about 4 or 5 seconds. Where as soon as I put up the video, somebody's like, "Hey, that's so and so's video,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Oh!" And
Yeah.
you know what? I was like, I vowed after that, no matter what, I'll figure this out how to get my own. You know what I used to do? I used to film the TV screen.
Oh God, that always looks like ass.
But you know what? I became so weirdly good at it that, like, even in my original Fantasy Star video, the very first video I ever put up on YouTube, all the footage is from the television.
Really?
Yeah. So what I would do is
Huh.
I'd convert it and I would do all this trickery to it, so you couldn't tell. But if you go in now looking, you can tell. But back then, that was like, this was 2008. This was like, this was a crazy thing to do. It was hard to get video game footage back then. It's not as streamlined as it is now. Now you can go get a thing to capture from your PS3, PS4, Xbox One, 360.
Yeah, it's like built into the systems now, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
there's also for anybody out there, again, if you're on some kind of insane budget, a lot of emulators have built-in capturing software to them.
Yeah.
So you can always use those. And I know that some people scream heresy at the very idea of using emulation, but when you're just trying to get footage,
Who cares?
you got to do what you got to do. There's really nothing that's technically off limits. Don't sit there and think that there's like a wrong way and a right way. There's just get it done. Get it done as best as possible. But if you don't have the technical know-how, if you don't have the money, then you just do what you gotta do. I've had a ghetto ass mentality because I was poor, with everything, and I still approach it that way. So it can work if just make it work.
Yeah, get the most out of whatever you have.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I started off, yeah, with the worst. Like when I started video editing in general, I had crap. I was using Pinnacle and stuff like that, and Pinnacle sucks. And I'm allowed to say that because I shot entire movies in Pinnacle and edited them in Pinnacle. It was a nightmare. It would just crash randomly or just disappear. You know what I mean? I was corrupt. It was like, oh God, you got to do your time a little bit too. But yeah, if you are thinking about doing a YouTube show, just do it and have a bit of fun.
Well, there's one thing that's also worth noting is if you have any friends who are interested in stuff, have them on board with you.
Yeah.
Make like a big series out of it. You can go and make entire skits, little miniature movies. If you've got a band, throw together your own homemade music videos and shit. If you want to do like a talk show type thing, if you want to do like a podcast, because for example, if it wasn't for YouTube, me and Johnny wouldn't even fucking know each other.
Yeah, it was another aspect we wanted to talk about as well, didn't we?
Yeah, it's important to think about. Like, you had talked about like earlier on in this episode was like reaching out to certain YouTubers and then just not getting a response, and that had happened to me a lot. And I never got all that bothered by the shit only because I feared they were getting lit up with 8 million messages, and I was like, I'd be fortunate or lucky enough if they even see it,
Yeah.
and let alone like respond to it. And if it ever does happen, it's really fucking cool. But you can just talk about the content that they're making, or maybe try to do collaborative works, or just ask for advice. There's tons of different things that you can go and talk about. But I remember way back, I had always said that the first two people that ever got back to me, who I'm still friends with, were Billy and you.
That's so funny. And what year was that? 2009?
It was 2009 was when you guys actually like had responded to me and shit, and then we got to talking like much more regularly like around 2010.
Yeah.
And to me it was crazy because I was watching these channels, and and YouTube again is kind of like, it's part of the entertainment industry, but it's this weird gray area of it because it's
Mm.
not like Hollywood or the music industry or anything like that. Anybody can enter it and then do their thing. So I was talking to just regular people like me, and I thought it was cool because I'm like, man, I've watched this guy's videos for quite a while, and I just wanted to tell him about some random shit that I thought about such and such episode, and same thing with Billy, and I was just blown away that anybody even responded.
And I think that's the kind of people that we try to be,
Yeah,
is very down to earth, open people. I think anybody who meets us in reality knows that. You know
a
what I
lot
mean?
of
Like,
people had said that in Portland.
yeah.
That holy fuck, man, you guys are really nice and really laid back. I'm like, yeah, that I don't know what. I guess some people they just run into like the super egos and shit
We
at
know they're out
times,
there. Yeah.
and that's never a good thing.
No, one of the nicest compliments I got when I was down in Portland is that you and GameSack had taken off to the airport, and I was just walking around. There's like half an hour of the convention left, and I was just finally chilling out and kind of walking around the convention, maybe checking out some games, which I never got a chance to do. But one guy came up to me and talked to me. And he's like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Wow, you're here." He's like, "I've been watching your show for years," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." So we're talking for a little bit of time, and he goes, you know what makes me so happy?" And I said, "Why?" He goes, "You're exactly like you are in your show. You're the same. He's like, I had a mentality that you were a nice guy." He says, "But until I met you, I wouldn't know that." He goes, "I'm so happy that you're down to earth." I'm like, "Well, of course, man. Like, what did you think I was gonna be? Like a fucking asshole? Like, hey, go fuck yourself."
Just
I mean,
start
like,
power bombing children and shit. I'm like,
oh yeah,
fuck
and
all of
power bombing
you.
children over video game tables and shit like that. But like, it was such a nice compliment, and I was like, this is what I've always tried to preserve on YouTube. I think I've done a really good job out of it, and so have you. Like, I think the thing is, when we're at these conventions and we meet a lot of people, and I think we make sure that we give everybody the time that they deserve for coming up to us. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, they take their fucking time to come up and talk to us. I'm gonna give them my best energy, and I know you do it even more than me, because for I'd say, for the 1%, the 1 out of 3% that comes up to me, there's 3 times that comes up to you. So you're a little bit more overwhelmed than me, and you give everybody time. Actually, I won't say who, but somebody said to me this as a compliment to you. They said, the one thing about Alpha, he makes everybody who comes up to him, he makes them gold. That you make everybody a priority. You don't just shake them off. Go, oh yeah, okay, thanks, man. You give everybody their time, and you make them feel totally like gold. And I think and I 100% agree with that too.
I've dude, I've always just been like blown away at the idea that anybody even is like gives a shit that I'm alive.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when it comes to this kind of stuff, and it could sound stupid to whoever is even listening to it or whatever, but it like I don't get used to it. And I won't get used to it. I just can't because I'm just a fucking like metalhead who loves video games and shit, and is just like this geeky nerd that loves all this stuff. And then there's people who are excited to see me, and it doesn't translate until you see them in person. But it was just kind of nuts. Like every time that I've met groups of people, like I've actually had like girls come up to me and they were like crying.
Yeah.
And like I give them a hug, but they're like crying because they're meeting me. I was like, holy shit, this is like kind of
Surreal.
like, yeah, I would never have ever thought that. There's people who said, you're my favorite person I've ever watched on there. You're the only person I actually came to meet, and I felt like I didn't even deserve to hear any of that. I was like, holy shit, really?
Yeah.
You came to meet me, just stupid me. But That's here. You know that's this is actually like a very good piece of advice. If you're listening to this and you end up making content, you're putting it out there, and you end up getting recognized, or you get invited out as a guest, and you become a big deal out there, don't forget who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Do not think that you are bigger and better than anybody. You know, don't sit there and shrug people off. Do not ever in your entire fucking life think that you're
No.
better than anybody who's watching your stuff, because they are just like you and vice versa. They
Yeah.
came there to see you, and you know that one moment that you're an asshole to them is something that they could remember for their entire life.
Oh, definitely.
You know, and that could hurt their feelings. Just imagine, you know, and I always say, like, don't do shit unless you want that done to you. Just imagine you're excited to see somebody, and you go up to them and you're all happy, and then the person's just like the biggest fucking jerk to you. You
Yeah.
know, and I know that there's YouTubers out there who have done that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd love to just fucking punch them in their face because they're fucking dicks. But, like, you weren't shit without them.
Yeah.
Same thing with celebrities, same thing with musicians. You weren't shit without those people, you know. I get it. Everybody's going to have like their day where they can't give like 100%, or they're like in a rush, or there's like some kind of thing. But at least be nice, appreciate, you know, just do what you can. But yeah, sorry, fucking
No, it's actually something that we talk about quite a bit, and I think we pride ourselves that we're like that we're very down to earth. I think that's something that it's just part of our character, and I think part of the reasons why we get along is because we're in the same kind of mentality. But I'm not going to get into it. We've seen, okay, and we're not going to get into it, a lot of bigger YouTubers with bigger fucking attitudes than you could ever imagine.
hell. I've
And I
I've
think
seen YouTubers that didn't even have shit tons of subscribers that had the fucking super ego.
Oh yeah.
And
It's just yeah.
trust me, the numbers don't always equate to the people being fucking dickwads and shit. But back to one of the earlier things, it's interesting because Final Bosses it only exists because we actually all know one another,
Mhm.
not because, oh, hey, somebody set all this shit up. No, it was put together because we were friends with one another and just thought this would be a good idea.
Yeah.
And
So sorry, go on. Yeah.
just saying, you know, it's kind of cool that something like this exists. You know, I know the site isn't super huge. I know this podcast isn't gigantic and shit, but this is actually like a really big deal to us because this is something unique and different,
Yeah.
outside of what we're normally doing, and because we're doing this with friends, it becomes that much more cooler, and you're that much more invested now.
Yeah. I don't think anybody realizes that we have a Facebook chat thing going on where there's yourself, Billy and Jay, A Bit Eric, Joe and Dave, yourself, myself, and all we're doing
And Shane.
is talk. Did I forget something? And Shane from Ramirez. I was like, I didn't forget any. I'm like, damn it. And Shane, I'll plug him again. Shane from Ramirez. Shane from Ramirez. Um, in there as well. And I got to tell you, it's the greatest think tank. I know I'm not talking about intelligence. I mean, it's just we're helping each other all the time. We're like with like technical issues and we just have a bit of a laugh once in a while. We really do. If anybody's ever seen our group chat things, like is that like we send like video messages back and forth to each other, and they're super fucking funny.
Yeah,
And
the Facebook Messenger series is just it's literally take the moments where we're all really active online, which is usually late at night because we're all fucking night owls,
yeah.
and we're just doing ridiculous shit. Like you, me, Eric, Billy, and Joe are always very consistent with like being on at night and then just sitting there like into the wee hours of the morning just shooting shit.
doing weird shit. So, like, yeah, we're gonna plug the site here because it's kind of funny. But go and check out what's it called? The Messenger series.
Yeah, it's on finalbosses.com. There's the Facebook Messenger series. So if you go under the Final Bosses tab, or if you, it should be on the main page by the time you end up seeing or hearing this podcast, but we do this like all the fucking time. Joe takes them and just splices them all together, and it's just us being goofy as fuck, you know. And it's not something that we could really put on our own channels because people are like, "This is fucking stupid. You're all idiots," and I don't want to watch this and just thumb it down to oblivion. But it's just us having fun.
Yeah.
And some of it, like, I'd forgotten about some of the videos. So I'm going back through. I remember that you one of the things that made me laugh quite a bit was um you went over to your Star Wars collection and you were panning the camera over and you're like, here's my and it was like all stormtroopers and you were like, here's my collection of Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, because I think like me and Joe were going back and forth sending videos to each other, like saying, "Hey, look at this! I got Darth Vader, and he's got like Boba Fett, or it's something like that." And so we just kept fucking around with each other and trying to. What was fucked me up is that I didn't even know that shit was on the site, and then all of a sudden I'm like messenger stuff. I'm like,
what the fuck, Johnny? Why don't you pay attention? You don't care about final bosses.
Yeah, fuck final bosses, right in the asshole. So I went and I was like, Kim, come here. And we sat and watched all three of them. It was so awesome. I'm like, I forgot about all of this stuff.
But you know what? And it's important to note, again, if any of you out there are wanting to go and do shit, hit up other people that you know that do stuff, and you might be able to make like really awesome content together, especially if you know people locally that can show up and just do stuff. Like I want to I recorded some stuff with my best friends. I still haven't posted it out there because some of the video quality of it just came out and looked like shit because we had no lighting. So
go figure.
But it's one of those things where it's like, you can make all sorts of shit. Just hit up people, man. For example, I've wanted to work with so many different people, but I never want to come across as like weird when approaching them because they're a bigger channel than me, and I don't want to be like that guy where it's like, oh, I don't want to be like, oh man, yeah, I totally want subscribers, I want to leech off you. I don't ever want somebody to think that because my channel isn't as big. But learn from my mistakes. Get over something like that and just try to work with people. If you've got ideas, if you've got equipment, if you're able to travel, if you're local, do whatever the fuck you can. If it wasn't for the fact that I approached, for example, Mike Matei in Philadelphia and just shot the shit with him for like half an hour, me and him wouldn't have became friends, and then he wouldn't have invited me out to his fucking house one day to go and record a room tour. And that was all because I decided to talk to him. Because
isn't that a trip? When he came on YouTube and you would watch like the Angry Video Game Nerd. Little did you ever know that you'd be like doing videos with those guys at one time, eh?
Dude, that I'm telling you, man, that fucking blew my mind. Like the entire thing. I didn't like fanboy or geek out or anything. It was kind of shocking to think, he had said, yeah, I know who you are. I'm like, holy fuck, how do you even know me? I don't think I registered like on many people's radars, but he had said that, and it was extremely like humbling. I was like, wow, that's fucking cool. But the whole thing just came about, I didn't ask him to be on that video. He had asked me because we'd shot the shit and he thought it'd be cool because, well, I'm there in Philly. And it was all because he had asked, and because I approached, like a year prior, and we stayed in contact. But that's just like one example of millions out there. If it wasn't for the fact that I hit up Billy on YouTube, I would never have been able to go and stay at his house and then be on like Game Chaser episodes and shit because we get along and stuff. If it wasn't for the fact that me and Johnny started talking, we wouldn't be doing podcasts together. So that's a lesson learned.
Oh, hey, look at this. Like, I plugged the Game Chasers back in the day when they had like a couple of thousand subscribers.
Yep.
It's weird. And then I was on a Game Sack episode because they knew how much I loved these. And they were like, and then I put them into an episode of mine to, it's funny how all those kinds of things meld.
Dude, and that's the thing. It actually does become a community. And there's tons of people that try to say the community's dying, the community's dead. They're fucking idiots. Like, there's nothing dead about it. It's just that the community's way fucking bigger. Way bigger.
The community, like, that's the whole thing, the gaming community. let's be honest. When I started, it was very small, and
Oh,
it was a couple. It was about 100 people. Now, thousands
yeah.
upon thousands. There, the community isn't like a little. Using the word community is too small. You need
Yeah.
something like, gigantomunity. Like,
It's
just
the
nuts.
gaming. I don't know. Fuck the gaming city, the gaming threshold, the gaming
Gaming
haven.
world. Quite honestly, it's like the entire fucking world plays video games.
Yeah.
So, are we all a community that plays video games and love video games? Fuck yes. And should we be? Fuck yes.
Oh yeah.
But it's yeah. But remember one thing: there's communities within communities with. You can't please everybody.
Yeah. You can't, and you just got to go out there. Remember, first and foremost, just fucking have fun with this shit, and focus on your content. Don't focus on numbers, and don't let like anybody who's just trying to troll you or fuck with you get to you.
Oh yeah.
That's something. My best advice for that is to either ignore it outright, or if you do decide that you're going to respond, be clever about it. Don't be angry. Just be
Yeah.
clever and turn it against them so that it makes a fool of them. Like, use their own joke against them, because a lot of times they're like, fuck you, piece of shit, faggot. I fucking hate you. Fucking kill yourself. I'm gonna fuck your mom in the ass and right in hell, and say whatever derogatory, messed up things that they can.
Yeah.
And people will say this shit to specifically
Get
get
a
under
rise out
your
of you.
skin.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Are you going to give them the time of day, or do you want to give the person time of day that said, hey, I really like this, and then ask you a question? Obviously, the latter of the two.
Yeah.
Just move on from that shit, because the minute that you focus on all the negativity is whenever you pollute your own comment section and you pollute your own subscribers, and
Oh
it becomes
yeah.
toxic, and that shit will stay there. And like, trust me, there are YouTube channels out the ass. If you just scroll down into the comments section, you will see the most poisonous shit. It's nothing but negativity and people being assholes and saying shit just to be, tons of thumbs down on videos. That defeats the purpose of even fucking making videos if that's what you're going to invest in. Fuck that noise.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. You said it all. I couldn't even say it any better. Exactly. Just make content that you're happy with and try to put if you want to put a negative spin on it, that's your thing too. You want to put a positive spin on it, that's up to you too. But it's kind of like, I know you haven't seen the episode, but there's a South Park episode is that what you put out there, you're putting yourself out there. So expect some bad stuff to happen.
Oh yeah.
Expect, like I've been called every name in the book. I've had people make videos about me.
I'm
I've
gonna
had
make up new names to call you now, just so
no,
that
no,
they
you
can be
can't win.
happy.
You can't beat it. I've been called everything. I've been called. I mean, and I don't give. The thing is this is going to sound terrible. I don't give a flying fuck. And the reason why I don't is because I'm so far past it. I'm 7 years past it. I've been hearing it for 7 years. It doesn't bother me. I care about? I care about the positive comments, the good stuff that I get out of the show. People who get what I'm trying to do.
Right.
I don't have I don't have time. I just don't care.
Dude,
I
it
mean,
takes
like,
so much
yeah.
energy to give a shit about all the negative stuff. It's not even fucking worth it, man.
Yeah, like here, great example. Like I wake up the other morning and I spent a lot of time doing my Halloween episode, which was a review of this game Horror Story, and I felt really good about it. And I was like, and I knew it wasn't going to be a skit based thing; it was going to be a straight review of a really unique, unusual game. So I felt good about that. And then so I put it out there, and it's done pretty okay. And I wake up a couple mornings later, and I get up, and the comment is, "Oh, yeah, they trying to correct something about the video. Like, yeah, they're not spores, they're rocks, and also it's a kind of cool video. But when you're putting out the Halloween special," and I just sat there and I was like, "This is the Halloween special." And I was like, and I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna let you fucking get to me. I'm like, get out of here. And I was just like, what is the matter with people? Like, expecting. Kim said to me, actually, she's like, man, she's like, people expect stuff out of you for nothing. Like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
they like, wait, why are you gonna do this and we do that? Do this, do that. And it's just like, God, just appreciate what I do once in a while. That'd be kind of nice.
But you know what? The thing is, not everybody will, and some people.
No.
I mean, it sounds fucked up, but some people are just stupid. I don't even know how else
Yeah,
to put it.
yeah,
And the
that's
thing
true.
is, when you make content, you're gonna come across like the most idiotic shit,
Oh
and it's going to be like, it's gonna be nightmare fuel. You're going to focus on like, how can somebody be that dumb, and you're gonna think about that over and over again. Don't. It'll keep you up at night. You're gonna need therapy and shit. You're gonna have
Oh
to go and take
God, yeah. You
fucking
go
like
nuts.
medicine. You'll be like, what kind of medicinal methods am I going to have to go and invest in to get this shit purged from my brain?
Oh,
And the answer is none, because you should just avoid it.
yeah. And that's the thing is that you're gonna get every comments about everything. You're gonna see everything. Oh, you look like so and so, or you look like this person, or you sound like this person, or you did this wrong, or you said that wrong. Blah, 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 blah. And the thing is just accept it.
Yeah,
Just
big time.
bring it inside of yourself. You know,
That's what she said.
I know. I'm loving it while I'm saying it. But just accept what everybody says and go, okay. And
And
just,
you have to have a high pitched voice, or else you're not doing it
okay,
right.
no problem. Just take it in and just say, okay, fine. You know what? That person's got a good point. That person's just being just dumb.
Oh yeah,
But take
the idea of constructive criticism and somebody just being a dick. Remember, two very different things.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Because and it's easy to confuse the two. Somebody might be telling you, hey, you could do this, this, or this, or maybe change this, this, or this. And then there's somebody who's just going to say, obviously, really fucked up, dumb things. Like, this game sucks, and you suck for reviewing it. Who the fuck cares? Oh, and by the way, also remember, if you are going to get into YouTube, you don't have to do just games. You can talk about anything that you want. You can talk about anime. You can talk about movies. You can talk about music. You can talk about cars. You can talk about sports. You can talk about anything, like TV shows. Fuck it. You could make your
Can
own
you talk
content.
about water sports?
Well, no, you got Pornhub for things like that.
Jeez, I'm sorry. My mistake.
And then everybody's like, water sports. I'm not familiar. Oh God, that is messy. That's so
Yeah.
messy. By the heavens.
By the
It's
heavens.
kind of like a super soaker and a vagina put together, if everybody's wondering, if you haven't put two and two together for all the unfamiliar.
That's beautiful.
It is. I like to think that it's very beautiful, and I'm surprised nobody's ever done like a slip and slide montage with water sports. It makes sense. Like all these bitches are spread eagle, and then somebody's just sliding down it, because that's the way the Lords of Thunder roll.
That's how we slide.
That slip
How
inside,
we
do the
slide.
electric slide, do the electric slide, slip and slide on her vagina side. So let's see, and what
I think
what else could we really cover about YouTube?
we'll come back to another. We're over an hour plus.
You're over an hour plus.
I am over an hour plus. I don't know what that means, but I'll take it. Just like comments on YouTube, just take them.
Yeah, just take them. Just take them right in the ass, right in the ass.
Just take it.
No,
You
it's
know?
trust me. A lot of the stuff that we're telling you is very, very important. I know it doesn't get into all like the technical shit, like make sure that your titles and your descriptions and your thumbnails are up to par. This is more about what you've got to deal with as a person.
Yeah.
And I think that's the shit that they're it's going to change from person to person with like situation to situation, but this is like some of the most important shit that you will deal with 24 hours a day. You having like your proper titles and descriptions and thumbnails and shit and editing techniques and social media links and all that stuff. That's all fucking like shit that you only deal with right as you go and edit. This is stuff you deal with 24 hours a day.
Yeah. That's how you keep your sanity and just keep on finding the positiveness to keep on doing YouTube.
Yep.
Type of thing. And the most amazing thing is the last episode, we found a way to end the podcast.
Yeah, we have an official outro. It took us 6 episodes to be able to get one.
So let's go through this because I'm retarded. We did it last time, and I don't know if we did it right.
No, we did.
Did we? So
Yeah.
I said no. Okay, so let me just go through this. So I say. So, anyways, guys, until next time, and then you say,
Game the fuck on.
but shouldn't it be and game the fuck on?
Should it be?
Well, I don't know.
Well, let's see. I don't know. I mean, I think that works because you
I kind of
figure
like it.
until next.
You're adding on to it and saying and game the fuck on.
Let's see. Until next time.
So okay, let's just give it a show. So, blah blah blah. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. Anyways, guys, until next time.
And game the fuck on.
And you game the fuck on, bitch.
You game the fuck on.
You
game the fuck on harder.
You game on
and you
on.
know what? And like we had said in the live episode, which is actually on your channel, and it's on here technically in audio only format.
Yes.
That like we just came up with that because it's a combination of both of our outros, and not every channel has like an outro like catchphrase saying, and it just so happens both of us have one of those, and it seemed like they melded together quite well.
But the funny thing, I don't even know where I got mine. Like I have an intro, so I can't not say it. I have to say this right now. I can't not say, like if I try to start it off the show somewhere, say, man, I'm talking about, I don't know, I'm talking about Transformers. I'm like, I cannot. I say it's psychological now. I can't say. So do you guys like Transformers? Because I'm going to talk about Transformers. I can't do that. I'm like, so welcome back to another episode. Today I'm going to talk about Transformers. I cannot start a rant or talking about anything unless I say, welcome back to another episode. Even when I started this brand new Let's Play thing with Kim, like Let's Play Again.
Let's play again.
Let's play again. And the very first episode, I'm like, welcome back to another episode. And somebody writes in the comments, see this? Actually, some comments are fucking brilliant. They're like, dude, why are you fucking saying that? It's the first episode. And I was like, that's hilarious. I'm like, that person's right. It was so funny.
And then you go back and edit and be like, welcome back to the first episode. Or wait, no, welcome to the first episode. There we go.
Welcome back to the first episode of Let's Play Again.
Get all robotic and shit.
Yeah, the robotic me from the fucking future.
Dude, all the intros that I do in my video, a lot of time, like I'll sit there and like I kind of just like bounce in place. Like I literally stand there and like bounce in place and get like adrenaline rushing, and I'm just like, because I'm so fucking energetic and shit, and I just think to myself, what I'm like, what do I want to say? Because there's a lot of times I want to put in like a funny little quip or some shit as soon as I start it off, and just to get the ball rolling. And I'm like, because I already know what the topic will be, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds funny, and I fucking roll with that, and then the rest is just like, I don't know, off the top of my head. But the outro is always the same because it's kind of hard to figure out when is a good cutoff point without it just being like sudden,
Yeah, to go into it naturally, type of thing.
Exactly. So yeah, but and we officially have ours. So I'm happy to say it only took 6 episodes, but we do have one. So
finally. So I think this is episode 8. I'm thinking.
Yeah, episode 8.
Is it episode? Well, it took us 7 episodes into 8. To 8, we're refining it now. It's gonna be perfect.
You're finding it.
Yeah, you love saying it. I saw you last night on Twitter going like somebody would say something like, "Oh, like wow, this is a really cool book that I read," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're a cool book that you read." I see you replying to people all over. I'm like, dude, man, he's really into saying that right now. It's awesome.
It uses the shit out of me because I got fucking Jay into saying that from the Game Chasers because I forgot what the hell got me started on it. But there was just one day somebody would be like, "Oh man, I'm watching V for Vendetta." I'm like, "You're a Vendetta," and they'll just stop and be like, "What?" I've never seen derailed trains of thought like happen so often until you do that. Because there's, how do you respond to it? I'm like, well, how? What do you mean I'm a Vendetta? I'm like, you are. And then Eric also ends up doing that a lot. And then there's sometimes it breaks down to like, you're a you, like. You're a dot. Just like the ridiculous shit that makes no sense, but we're just sitting there like hee and giggling to ourselves.
I gotta say this is funny. This is just before I went down to Portland. It was the night before, and I didn't have a great sleep. I was up late at night, and I was in the final bosses chat, and I knew Billy was in there, and it was just me and him. And Billy does these jokes all the time, and just so everybody knows that I don't ever do these jokes, I stay away from them. But I got Billy so fucking good, it's not even funny. So I said, so driving down to Portland tomorrow, and I want to try some fast food. Is Jack in the Box any good? And he's like, meh. And I'm like, because I want a Jack in the Box of your mom. And he's still writing. Their tacos and bacon cheddar wedges are good. And then all of a sudden he writes, you fuck. And I'm like, 8 out of 10. You fucking got me. And I said, I'm actually laughing here. And he writes, you're the last person I expected that from. My defenses were down. I said, I know, that's why I did it. I knew, I would get you there. And he goes, I feel like an ass.
Oh, dude,
and I took a screenshot of this and I titled it, I win.
I've seen so many fucking times where like Billy just sits there quiet, which makes no sense because he fucking talks all the time. But he'll sit there real quiet, and then while everybody else is talking, then he'll just chime in to say something, and all it is, it's a trap. That's what it is.
It's a trap.
That hot chick who's definitely tucking her fucking dick, it's a trap. And then as soon as you go and you respond to him, he'll have a fucking a joke about him fucking your mom or something based off of what you just said. And there's been so many times I respond to him with ... and I say things, I'm like, fuck you, I know what you're doing, fuck you. I can sense it, I can see it from back here, you fuck. So it's always good. So what you did, yeah, 8 out of 10.
It was definitely. I was laughing when I got into bed that night. I was really genuinely laughing, and I woke up and I was still kind of giddy. I'm like, oh,
I like that. Oh,
I woke up. Oh yeah, I got him. Ooh, finally. I even remember that Jay Hoof got him really good. I don't think it will be in an episode of the Game Chasers, but when we're down in Philly, he's checking out I think Billy's checking out like an Odyssey, and Jay Hoof goes up to him and goes, "Oh, you like the Odyssey?" And Billy's like, "Yeah." He goes, and then Jay Hoof's like, "Yeah, you ought to see these nuts." And he's like, "Oh my god, that was brilliant."
That's when everybody just jumps into frame and is like, "Oh!"
Out of Jack in the Box of your mom. I was on fire that night. So, anyways, let's call it a day. I think I hear Kim home for dinner. I gotta fly off here.
Oh my. Well, there we have episode 8. So for all of you folks out there who just wanted YouTube advice or just to hear fucking behind the scenes YouTube stories with us two, now you know.
And knowing is half the battle. Anyways, guys, till next time.
Game the fuck on.
Yeah, game the fuck on. Fuck.
In the butt.
In the butt.